Hi everyone, I hope you're having a great week so far. And today being a Friday, I hope you're very ready for the weekend. So, welcome to this live stream. And today, our discussion is actually going to revolve around access to financing, specifically for small, medium enterprises across Africa. And at Bai Foundation, one of the key things that it does is supporting different businesses to have access to financing and also to accelerate different programs that they have, increase capital, and also increase their sales. So based on this, we decided to have a discussion around how can SMEs get access to financing, what are the different opportunities that we have there that they can take advantage of, and what do our different experts have to say, more specifically in terms of the opportunities we have, some of the challenges that are there, and also some of the things that the different SMEs can be able to explore. So based on that, I'll be able to take a minute just to introduce our very able panelists that we have on today who are going to take us through this particular discussion. And the discussion, as I said earlier, is we're exploring the SMEs landscape in Africa, more specifically delving deeper into access to financing. So with that, I'd like to have some of our speakers go on board, and I'd like to start with Emmanuel. Emmanuel, you could just tell us what it is that you do, the name of your business, and just a brief intro about yourself. So, Emmanuel.
Right. Hi, everyone. My name is Emmanuel Busulwa. I'm the founder and team lead at a startup is called WallyCard, and WallyCard is doing financial literacy programs, especially for young people and SMEs here in Uganda. So we basically try to help people understand how better to manage their personal finances. And when it comes to terms of startups, we realize that the biggest challenge is not having, sometimes it's not the challenge is not having access to the capital, but understanding how to actually manage what we are given. So that's what my team and I do. And we about 3 years strong. The business has pivoted in a few ways here and there. And yeah, that's what I do. I hope I've explained myself a little. Yeah.
Yes, yes, definitely. Thank you so much, Emmanuel, and we really can't wait to hear from you. Next, I'll want to introduce Dami as well. If you're on the call, just take a minute to introduce yourself as well.
Good day, everyone. My name is Dami Olaokmi, and I am a business analyst at Jekira. Jekira is an e-commerce platform, and we make use of technology in order to connect vendors with customers. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So we are also expecting to be joined by two more panelists. One is Kennedy Okia, who's the co-founder Pickup Mtani, a startup that is based here in Kenya. And then we're also expecting to be joined by Samuel as well, all the way from Ghana, where he's a business consultant. I'll be shedding more light and also his experience around the SME landscape in Africa, more specifically access to financing. So once again, thank you so much for finding time and joining us and just sharing your experience and joining this particular discussion. So I would want us to first explore certain questions, and this will definitely provide valuable insights for the audience. And with that, I'd want to pose my first question to Emmanuel. What are some of the key challenges that you feel SMEs in Africa face when trying to access financing?
Thank you, Diana. Um, just like you've asked, there are challenges that we're facing, and I would think the challenges are in two categories. Category one is internal. We have internal challenges that are hindering access to capital. Then we have external challenges, and I think the biggest internal challenge we have is lack of proper. Guys, forgive me just a second. Sorry.
I think Emmanuel, you can just mute, and then probably we can have Demi respond to that as you're trying to sort out your speak up, maybe. So Demi, I don't know if you have anything to contribute to that, as Emmanuel is just sorting himself out.
Yeah, in the startup space, I believe finance is one of the major topics, and access to finance in Africa is not as easy as people outside the startup space would paint it as. I've been in the startup space for over 3 years now, and I can tell you that in order to access finance, you need to get your game right. You need to put all your books in checks, because nobody would give you funds if you're not ready to increase their funds and give it back to them. So yeah, that is my view on access to finance in Africa.
Thank you. So the other thing that I also have is recently we just experienced a pandemic that is COVID-19, and definitely SMEs was the one that was hit greatly by this particular pandemic. So I'd want to get your views. How has COVID-19 pandemic affected the availability of financing for SMEs, and what are some of the adaptations or innovations that have emerged as a result of this? So Emmanuel, I don't know if you have time to respond to this. Are you back yet? Good. Yeah. So
Yes, I'm
just
back.
us coming back from the, yeah. So if you could
Uh,
share your insights around us
okay.
coming back from the pandemic, what are some of the challenges that you see we have faced, and what are some of the opportunities and innovations that have emerged because of this?
The biggest challenge we faced being, in our motherland is that most of our little, even the little financing we access comes from the first world. So you find that most of those economies were equally hit as hard, and they were not in position to prioritize us. Actually, they had to put their businesses first. Everyone is aware of the economic situation in the US and parts of Europe, and you know how the trend has gone over the last couple of months. They're just trying to recover as they grapple with different things. So the biggest challenge is that the very source of the funds that we rely on was equally compromised, and in that lays an opportunity for us as Africans, people in Africa. It is, I think, this was a push that we needed to start looking inwards. What can we do? How can we source money? What can we do with the little we have? How can we segment and reposition our businesses to rely more on internal systems and less on external help? So the biggest challenge we faced was availability of the funds themselves, given that the sources of the funds were now diverted to more important areas as per our donors. But in there lies the opportunity for us to look inwards and start sourcing locally. For example, here in Uganda, you find that um, because of the pandemic, there's been a huge reliance on technology now. The way we've evolved, the way we shop, especially industries like e-commerce, tourism, the transport industry, logistics. So because of that, we've had to adapt and change. And due to that adaptation and change in the way we are doing things, you find that our governments are now allocating more money to startup funds. You find that there is now more incubation hubs. You find that there's a better appreciation of technology, and because of that, it is creating an internal flow of investment towards the startup world. So much as COVID squeezed us genuinely, it has also created quite an opportunity in that if someone is, diligent enough, there is now room for growth. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel. I actually like the point that you've mentioned, especially when it comes to government just offering more support, providing different incubator spaces where these SMEs can actually utilize this particular government resource. So, Dami, I don't know whether in Nigeria you experienced something different, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. Was there anything that you saw?
Yeah, during the pandemic, I think one of the um, major shifts I saw was in the way community is being built in the startup world. I saw a shift from, okay, let's meet physically, to let's hold meetings on Zoom, let's hold meeting. I think that's when Zoom started coming up. Let's hold meetings on LinkedIn. So I saw a lot of a trend shift from physical engagement to building a community online. And I have seen a lot of startups grow based on the fact that they are building a community online. And I believe that's what the pandemic actually shifted us to. And for those that have taken advantage of it, um, I can say they're reaping the reward. That's what I have to say about the pandemic.
Okay, thank you. And also, just weaving into still what both of you have mentioned, one of the things that we noticed was government giving in subsidies, just offering support to make sure that the business environment during the pandemic was a little bit friendly to people. So I want to, the other question that I have is, what are your thoughts around traditional banking institutions and what role they play in supporting SMEs? Because I think banking institutions are some of the financial institutions that have been there for a very long time. And I want to get your views and your thoughts when it comes to financing, or when it comes to you accessing some of the finances from banking institutions. How has it been? And what would you say the traditional banking institutions have played a role when it comes to supporting SMEs? So for this, I would want to start with Dami. I want your experience when it comes to banking institutions and supporting SMEs, especially in your country and any other country that you've experienced.
Um, yeah. So in terms of the banking system supporting SMEs, I believe they are actually seeing the impact of supporting SMEs, because SMEs are a major contributing factor to the growth of the economy of the country. And I've seen the CBN um, push out funds. I've seen the institutions making laws. Like we have a startup bill. I think in Nigeria, I think it has been passed. It was passed recently, and so in terms of finance, they are doing their best, but I feel that there are some factors that are not actually making the startup ecosystem, especially in Nigeria, to have access to it. Yes, they are providing this finance, but for us to get it from the bank, it takes a lot. They have to see a lot of um like for instance, if you want to get money from the bank now, let's say you have a studio setup, let's say you have a photography startup, you have your studio setup, and you just need, let's say, 5 million naira to add in order to like get the equipment you need to grow your business. It is challenging to do that because they are looking for, I think the word is collateral, in order to provide you with more money, and you are just starting up. Where would you get that from? So I believe that is the aspect in which it is hard to get finance from the banks. But I can see a lot of aside from the banks, I can see um a lot of venture capitals coming in, just okay, we like your idea. They give them a particular percentage of your business and they would fund it for you. So the bank is there, but they are looking for something big before they can fund your business. So I think that wall needs to be broken in order for us to go forward and go faster. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dami, for highlighting that. I think it's actually one of the key challenges that different businesses face across Africa. How do they get access to financing, especially from these banking institutions? So, Emmanuel, I don't know whether your experience has been different in Uganda when it comes to access to financing from traditional financial institutions. Sorry, you're muted, Emmanuel.
Sorry. My experience here in Kampala has not been very different. You know, you find that our banks are interconnected, our banks are all the same, our banks all come from the same markets. For example, here in Kampala, all our banks are usually Kenyan banks or South African banks. But just to shed some more light on the question that you asked earlier, yes, traditional banks were very important earlier. You know, they would give us loans, they'll help with, payments processing, and also providing business banking services. But to be honest, it's not any different. Sometimes banks have taken long to adapt to this startup ecosystem. As a startup, I don't have a lot of credit history. As a startup, my books are not 5 years old. My books are usually 12 months old, 15 months old, just a few months old, or a year or two at most. So they've not had the flexibility of dealing with the new age in the digital era. And I can tell that many that have not adapted quick enough are losing out on business, and those that have either packaged their services better to handle startups and young businesses have improved. But it's not been a smooth ride. I think every day is a step in the right direction. And also, most of our local banks do not have packages that are business packages that are suiting startups. A few I'll mention, for example, Stanbic Bank here in Uganda has gone ahead to introduce a business incubation hub where they handle you from registration to mentorship to every aspect of your business, your go-to-market strategy, investment readiness and things like that. But to be honest, we are still far away from where we need to be. Those of us who have been lucky to get into the room with most banks, if you're lucky, you're understood. But many times they're not acting up to speed with our ecosystem and startups. But I do have hope in the future. I can see that there is baby steps happening in the right direction. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel and Dami, for shedding more light when it comes to local banking institutions around financing SMEs. And that has made me start to think there are also other opportunities, especially when it comes to access to financing. And Dami, I think you did shed some light around it. One of them being venture capitalists. So I'd want to get your experience. How has that journey been? Because at the end of the day, as a startup, you still need to look for financing. So if you're knocking on the bank's door and they're not willing to open it, probably they're giving a lot of processes and it's not something you're able to access. Then the other door you're going to knock is probably investors. So I'd like to get your experience. How has it been? For example, if you're either looking at a venture capitalist, angel investor, crowdfunding, how has that journey been? So I think, Emmanuel, you can go first.
The journey has been, if it were not for foundations like BUY, for programs through these incubation hubs, to be honest, personally, it's close. The chances were close to zero. And it's been quite tough to this day. But through incubation programs and mentorship programs, through organizations like BUY, we've now gotten a better understanding. The truth is, many of us did not have access to venture capital because we did not know what to do, how to get ready, the whole investment readiness, portfolio building and things like that. Many of us did not know. And this is a message to any entrepreneurs out there. If you do not know what you're doing, please find time and join a program somewhere, or a startup hub somewhere, incubation hub. The biggest advantage I have had, or the biggest opportunities that I've received in terms of VC access, or even just being in a room with people of a certain caliber, is belonging to a program or to an incubation hub. So through incubation hubs, mostly we've made some progress, but individually it is difficult. Through banks, it is next to impossible. And at some point, your business reaches the level where you need to associate with people who know exactly what they're doing, who need to guide you and hold your hand. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. And I can see we are also joined by Samuel. So Samuel, I'll just give you a minute to introduce yourself. Just tell us your name, country you're joining us from, and probably a very key highlight on who you are as well. So karibu, Samuel.
Thanks for this opportunity. So my name is Samuel Awe in Ghana, and I'm the CEO and founder of Brighton and Walton Advisors Limited. We are a business and financial consulting firm. So we have done, and personally, I have been involved in a number of capital raising and investor readiness program. I'm a senior fellow to BUY Foundation and other fellowship or incubators that BUY. I've been involved in a number of capital raise, investor readiness, and just making SMEs across Africa, most SMEs in other African countries, investor ready and all that. So basically, that's a little profile about me, and I thank you so much for being a speaker to this program this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Samuel. So Samuel is joining us from Ghana. And then I also have Kennedy Okia, who's joining us as well. So Ken, if you could just as well introduce yourself.
Hello, guys. Sorry for joining a bit late. Duty called, so I had to attend to some office issues. But my name is Kennedy Okia. I'm one of the co-founders of Pickup Mtaani. Pickup Mtaani is a last mile delivery tech-enabled solution, primarily based in Nairobi, Kenya.
Hello, Ken, I think we've lost you.
That enables buyers and sellers to connect in such a way that vendors can use an affordable means of delivery to deliver to the customers. And how it works is so how it works is that we partner up with local businesses, pharmacies, for example, bookshops, grocery shops that become drop-off and collection points within people's local area. So when an order is made, a vendor can drop it off at one location, and it is delivered to another pickup point in a different location where the customer is able to collect it. And we facilitate this at a very affordable rate, sometimes up to 70 to even 100% less than the normal delivery prices. And we've been fortunate enough to actually deliver goods worth 500 million shillings in the last 36 months. So that's, in a nutshell, that's what we do.
Thank you so much. So that was Kennedy and also Samuel who have just joined us. So I'd want to pose a question to Samuel, specifically just picking up on your expertise when it comes to preparing businesses for investor readiness. And one of the things that Emmanuel and Demi have shared is getting access to financing, especially from the traditional financial institutions, that is banks, has been a very huge challenge. And one of the ways in which they've been exploring to get financing is through venture capitalists, angel investors, and any other mode of investment opportunities. So Samuel, what are some of the things that the SMEs need to have in mind, especially when they are trying to look or source for financing? Samuel, you're muted.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Diana. So as you rightly said, SME financing in Africa is very difficult. And one of the challenges that they have is that there are two types of streams that they have to look at. Basically, the quantitative aspect of their business and then the qualitative aspect. So let's break it down a little. When it comes to quantitative aspect, what are we talking about? They have to make sure they understand their financial model very well. Are they at the post revenue, pre-revenue? At what stage are they in terms of their revenue, whatever? And they have to show that their numbers speak well to the business model that they have. There shouldn't be any exaggeration. Everything should be fact, and it should be backed by as solid and very strong fundamentals and all that. Because that's the only way any VC or a private equity for any investor or any bank can even put money in you. So if you don't understand your business model very well quantitatively, you will not be able to convince most of these investors you are talking about. And one of the challenges that most SMEs are facing all over Africa. When it comes to the qualitative side, any investor or a bank want to see whether you have the right team, both the management team, right from the top to the middle management, even to the bottom. You have the right team to work in to scale up the business to the level that they want. Do you really understand the business model you are running? Now COVID has come to taught a lot of things. Do you have any scientific analysis on your business in terms of plan A, plan B, plan C, in case there's any pandemic that will strike your business or something? So it's one of the challenges that most SMEs in Africa are having, and they need to take their time to understand this. And as my brothers rightly said, fortunately, we have so many incubators all over that are trying to make some of these SMEs investor ready. And sometimes they don't even have the patience to be part, because it's like they have the business and they need funds immediately. But it doesn't work that way. You need to make sure you have the fundamentals right. You get yourself investor ready. Join as many incubators as you can so that you can learn a lot. Try to put up very solid and very strong documentations. Your financial model, your business plan, your strategic plan. Put up the proper team before you even go out there to look for funding. So this is a little tip that I can give on this SMEs to be investor ready.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Samuel. So I hope we are able to just take some notes and ensure that our different businesses have all the checks and balances that are required, especially when you're looking for or sourcing for financing. And so Kennedy, for you, you're in Kenya and you're working in different parts of the country, more specifically within Nairobi and its environs. I'd want to hear from you, how has the business environment been like? Is it conducive? Are there some policies that you feel are not very conducive for you as a startup who's starting out? So I just want to hear from you when it comes to, as an SME that is in Nairobi, Kenya, how is the business environment like in relation to government policies and some of the measures that have been put in place? Is it something that is making you thrive, or is it something that is making you to suffocate and not grow as a business?
Yeah, thank you, Diana, for that question. Definitely, there are issues in the macro environment, and I think how I would look at it, these are external factors, or these are external issues that affect a business, and you can do little to nothing to influence or change them. So whether they affect us negatively, whether they affect us positively, those issues are there, and we have little to no control over them. That notwithstanding, what I would definitely say is you have to build your business to withstand to be resilient rather, and obviously there are issues that we are definitely not happy with. For example, we all know huge taxation is a problem. It's not like there is a different. You'll be differentiated between a startup and an organization that has been there for a while, for 10 years, 15 years. You're probably charged the same amount of tax even if you've started a month ago. So it doesn't really matter. And you see, those are macro elements that we have nothing to less control over. So it's usually just up to us to actually build a business that is resilient. And a business that is resilient, in my opinion, is the customer decides what business should continue being a business. Because if you've built a business, whether it's a startup, because I think also us in the startup ecosystem, we need to wake up that just because you brand your name, your business, the tag startup, doesn't mean it will have meaningful what do you call this, use to the end user. So the end user is the one who decides what if you are a startup or not. So if you build your business serving the customer, I believe the macro challenges will always be there, but the business will be resilient. The customers will actually give you the resources that you require to build a business that still withstands the test of time. Those are my thoughts.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kennedy, because I feel actually government plays a very key and a very important role. And like you mentioned, also the customers play a very key role. So then I would want to hear from Dami, like when it comes to consumers or even your customers, what's the relationship between some of the customers that you have or the consumers of your product to access to financing? Do you feel that there is any direct relationship between the two?
Thank you for that question. Well, no one would want to invest in a business that doesn't have traction. And I think that is the relationship between customers and the funds you see in your business. before you go to approach an investor, you would have had to gather some traction, even if it's a wait list, even if it's a um, kind of demo you've done or an MVP you've built. You need to show the investors that you are actually serious about what you're doing. Um, so I believe that is the relationship. And if you can do that, it will be easier. I didn't say it will be easy, but it will be way easier for you to actually get finance because they see that yes, you're making sense and you're actually committed to what you're doing and you have proof that this thing actually works, this idea actually works. Sorry, thank you.
Thank you so much, Dami. Emmanuel, do you have anything to add on that?
Sorry, could you repeat the question, Diana?
Yeah, sure. So one of the questions that I was asking is all of the businesses, one of the key things that you're targeting is ensuring you have consumers or a consumer base. So my question is, do you feel as a business there is a relationship between consumers or your consumer base to access to financing? Is there any relationship between the two?
I would think there is a relationship. Not I would think, I know there is a relationship because access to finance gives you having the financial muscle, to market your product, to refine your product, to, generally to scale your operations, is necessary. So you can either grow your customer base by giving such a good product, but at the same time, there's a level of effort that is needed in informing the public about your product. Or for some businesses and business models, maybe they do not have to advertise directly, but there's a level of finance you need to refine your product so good that the customers have the ability to refer each other. You get. So there is a direct relation between access to finance and the customer satisfaction and the number of customers and the level of scale that you can achieve. So the higher the access to finance, I believe it gives you the ability to scale your operations. You know, we are discussing businesses that are tech-based. You find that you have the ability to hire more, technical engineers. I think they're called developers. You get the chance to hire more developers to refine your product. So it is quite necessary, and it gets really hard. In our business, we tried it out. Trying to grow organically, staying away from external capital, and it was close to impossible. You burn out, you're always frustrated, things are not moving. But at some point, Bai came along, held our hand, taught us what to do, how to do it, who to talk to, how to talk to them, how to be ready, what to have, what they want to know at what point. And trust me, the curve changed. So it is quite important for you to have access to a certain level of finance dependent to what level your business is at, what growth stage your business is at. So the two are directly correlated, in my opinion. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Emmanuel. And I'm very happy that we're getting to learn from each other. And one of the things that we're also looking at is even during this particular conversation, we are having different people from different countries just speaking from their experience. And one of the things that is coming out is the experiences are kind of cutting across. So having that in mind and also being very much considerate that we're in different countries, my question would be, how can government, financial institutions, and the private sector collaborate to create an enabling environment for SMEs who are seeking financing in Africa? And for this particular question, I'd like to pose it to Samuel. So how can these different entities who we feel are holding the money collaborate to ensure that our SMEs, especially across Africa, are able to get access to financing? So Samuel, you can just share your thoughts or views around that.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much. So, I think over the years or decades, the traditional banking has changed, and I think those days, okay, all that they want is, okay, you are a customer to them. They don't even monitor the growth of your business or whatever you are doing. They don't even monitor your progress. You just come here and they say, okay, how much do you need and all that, But there's a serious paradigm shift. There's a paradigm shift in terms of financing of late and how to relate to your client or your investee companies. So I think banks, governments, and other investors should have some form. They should institute something like this kind of incubating where SMEs can have that incubation. They can even collaborate. So maybe a bank can collaborate with let's say Foundation that okay, can you incubate or can you mentor these SMEs for us? We know they are startups, they have not gotten to that level that we want. Can you do something for them so that when they get investor ready, you can just pitch them to us and then we'll see how best we can help them. So I think collaboration with business incubators that buy foundation is key. And I think we have a bank in Ghana, that's Fidelity Bank in Ghana, doing um, something similar, where they have consultants helping young entrepreneurs or businesses to be investor ready or get to a point where they said, okay, you are now ready for financing. And I think that collaboration should be very key. And the government should also help in terms of instituting something like that for SMEs in all over Africa. And I think Ghana, that's what the government is doing. We have some youth entrepreneurship programs where they try to incubate or encourage SMEs to even pitch for funding. And there's a fund like that, that the government of Ghana has instituted, and I think it's helping a lot. So if that kind of collaboration will come to bridge that gap, that financing gap, it will be very great. And I think that would be my take on that. Thank you.
Thanks, Samuel. Definitely one of the key things we're picking from that is collaboration, collaboration, collaboration. That is very important. How can different financial institutions collaborate with funders? How can the funders also collaborate with different foundations in order to support the different SMEs? So I'm going to actually ask everyone. So this is our very last question because I was hoping the call would be for 30 minutes and I can see it's 7 minutes past 30. So I'd want to get the views from everyone and I can start with Kennedy. So the question that I have is what advice would you give to aspiring SMEs in Africa seeking financing for their ventures based on your experience and expertise? So Kennedy, you can go first. What is some of the advice that you can give to, someone who's wanting to venture into business, coming into SME based on your experience and expertise?
Yeah. I think the most important bit would be to build for the customer, because my honest opinion, the customer is the one who pays. It's not the investor. It's not a bank. It's not anybody financing. So from our understanding, from the experience we've had, the best person to build for is the customer. Never build for any other person if it's not the customer. I understand nobody ever gets into business if it's not does not prove to have traction, but it's important to always internalize that build for the customer first. The customer will actually give you the money you want. Because for us, I'll give an example. We have a team of around 42 people, and I can be honest with you that a lot of our growth, we've served of we've delivered over 1 million products, 1 million orders in 3 years. We've been able to deliver goods worth 500 million shillings, serving over 25,000 customers. And I can tell you for sure, we've never been given money by any VC. We've gotten grants here and there. This is good because we received grants from Stanbic. The time we've received a grant from the government of Kenya. It's good, but if I look at our overall revenues, it's a fraction of what we've made. So if we were depending on those grants, I don't think we'd have built anything. I don't think we would have moved anywhere. So build a product for the customer. That is your financer. The customer is your financer. That's what I would say.
Thank you, Ken. So Kennedy is saying the customer is your financier. Emmanuel, what are your views? You're muted, Emmanuel. Sorry.
Sorry. The question was, what advice would I have for fellow young entrepreneurs? Number one, guys, you need to do your research. You need to do research into the product. You need to do research into your idea. Take time to refine your idea. You need to do research into your financing options. It is important to do your research and understand the options in many of the efforts that you have. Secondly, have a clear business plan. Lenders and investors will want to see a clear business plan that outlines your goals, your strategy, and how you plan to use the financing that you seek. And thirdly, build a strong credit history. This is also on a personal note, because many times the financing we seek does not come from VCs. It starts from simple things like, your friends, your family, sometimes your local bank. And these days we have our mobile telephone networks that offer us, small credit here and there based on your transaction history. So you need to build a strong credit history. Try credit in terms of your history with peer-to-peer relationships, and also part of it is keeping very clear books of accounts for your business. And on a broader note, I would really encourage people to network with other entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurship gets lonely. It tests your mind, mental health. You find your family falling apart. You find yourself, if you don't really talk to people in your, partners like this. I mean, I'm glad to talk to people from parts of Africa I've never been, like West Africa. And my brother here in Kenya, I've been to Nairobi several times, but I can sense that we have the same issues. You're being taxed just like MTN that has been in the business for 20 years. So network with other entrepreneurs, and maybe they'll give you a sense of empathy. And also, many times you find that they've walked the path you're on. So attend workshops and seminars. These things are free. There's loads of free, knowledge in there. Workshops and seminars give you access to strong social capital. You bump into the CEO of a top bank. You bump into, you don't know who you walk into. You find that in these spaces, you find that you have quick access to people who matter in your space. And lastly, guys, we live in the 21st century. Use the online resources. There are many online resources that are available to help you to learn. YouTube is an open university, like they say. And recently, much as might sound controversial, take time and use Chat GPT if you can, just for basic research here and there. Before you run around, getting stressed and all, use the internet. Seek help. Talk to other people in the space. And most importantly, try not to give up. And don't forget to pray. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Emmanuel. I think you've done a whole holistic view in terms of someone who's going into entrepreneurship. Dami, I don't know if you have anything else to add, and then we can have Samuel after Dami. So Dami can go next.
Yeah, I resonate so much with what Okia said and with what Emmanuel said. Um, my first thought into the matter we're talking about right now, which is for people who are coming in, it would be to build something you're passionate about. If you're passionate about it, you would you'll be able to go the extra mile, even though you are going through challenges. There'll be a lot of challenges. So build something you're passionate about, and um, just like we've talked about, getting customers. Yes, you will need to make them feel comfortable at some point, making the website look good, but get customers into the business you're passionate about, right? Which is creating value. Then you can now bring in finance into that business. Because, like I said earlier, no one will invest in a business that doesn't have traction. So, yes, do something you're passionate about, bring customers, create value for them. Then you can now bring in finance to make the whole journey smooth. It won't be smooth at the beginning for your customers. They will need to take a lot of excuses. There will be a lot of sorry. But at the end of the day, you're using it to gather traction enough for you to bring finance into your business. So that is my advice for anyone looking to join the startup space.
Thank you, Demi. I don't know if Samuel is still on the call.
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, Samuel, I think you are now the last person to give us your parting shot when it comes to what advice would you give to someone who's going to join the SME industry or sector?
All right. So I think my brothers have said everything, but let me just add some few comments and all that. So I think the basic thing is that as a startup entrepreneur, you should have a mentor in your life. Who are you looking up to? And the second thing, you have to have passion for what you are going to do, because business is up and downs. It's not, you might be operating for like 3 years and no revenue is coming in, but you should have a belief that this model or business model is going to thrive. So you shouldn't put money first in front of you, but have that passion and believe in your business, and understand your business model very well. And that's what my brother rightly said. You need to do a lot of research, understand the risk, all risks associated with your business. Some risks you don't have control over. The ones you have control over, what measures can you do? How can you mitigate those risks? And you need to have traction as well. You need to have traction. You need to understand your clientele base. You need to understand your clients and have a very good business model. Try and have a convincing, a very comprehensive business plan. Have a very solid, a very strong financial model. Keep proper books of accounts. Understand yourself very well, and I think that's the way to go. And if your model is okay and and it's on track, you'll be able to attract the right investor for your business. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Samuel. And with Samuel remarks, that marks the end of our webinar today. Thank you so much, everyone, for just joining, especially the panelists, Demi from Nigeria, Okia from Kenya, Emmanuel from Uganda, and Samuel from Ghana. I really, really appreciate for you guys taking your time and just sharing your experience and insight when it comes to SME landscape, specifically access to financing. I'm hoping the online community was able to learn something and pick some lessons here and there. And please follow us on our social media platforms, Buy Foundation on Instagram, Buy Foundation on LinkedIn, and also Buy Foundation on Twitter. You will be able to get access to different resource materials and also join us for different webinar sessions that we will be having. So thank you so much, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day from wherever it is that you're joining us from. Asanteni sana. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank
Thank
you. Bye
you.
bye.
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 Thank you.